Hello everyone, welcome back to Gelvin Valley. I'm out here running the roller. This is a map for Farming Simulator 2015. I'm running a roller across the field, kind of smoothing out the plowing that I did and trying to take care of the smaller rocks by pounding them into the soil. That's kind of why we're out doing this. It's a little bit cloudy, foggy in game, so I'll be looking forward to that going away so we can actually see what we're doing in here. But as I mentioned in the previous video, something I wanted to do was to read a story that I wrote when I was in the 8th grade for one of the classes that I had. And I'm kind of curious to read it now after so many years and see kind of how it sounds. So, if you want to get any perspective on that, just listen to the episode that I did just before this one, and I kind of talked through about my upbringing and the stories my father would tell. This is really one of his stories, so I'm going to see if I can read this while trying to do some field work here. So this may not work out the witness. So if I'm crooked, well, you'll kind of know what happened. The story is titled The Go-Kart Race, and it was, I was in the 8th grade, so I would have written this back in 1988. Anyway, page 1. Once upon a time, in the deep, dark woods, there was a tall cottonwood tree. At the base of the tree, near the roots, one could see that someone had taken up residence there. A small, battered up screen door gave away any signs of life. Let me try to get this rock. That rock didn't go. Beside the tree was a river that seemed to come from nowhere and go to nowhere. For this reason, the river was called the River to Nowhere. In the roots of that tree, some rabbits were peacefully sleeping. However, the loudest snore seemed to come from one room, the room that had a sign over it that read Buster. Inside, one could see him in his small bed with his mouth wide open, erupting out large snores that could scare a bear out of his wits. The snoring stopped, however, when an alarm clock beside his bed sang out with a bell-like sound. With a leap, Buster sprang up and shut it off. Today was Saturday, and his mom was going to take him shoe shopping. He pondered a moment on what kind of shoes he would receive. There's a big daddy rock remover. He then yanked a pair of overalls out of the small dresser by his bed and pulled them on. He proceeded to put on a t-shirt that said Buster on the face of it. He looked at his shoes with a disgusted, scornful look. However, he pulled them on and skipped down the stairs to have breakfast with his mom and dad. We get turned around here. "You're late again," muttered Daddy Rabbit, who was usually quiet, but yet had his say when it came down to it. "How can I help it if I set the alarm clock 20 minutes late?" wailed Buster. "Well, Buster," said Mother Rabbit, "sit down and eat your breakfast so that we can go shoe shopping." "Don't eat so fast, Buster. You sound like a pig," Mother Rabbit exclaimed. Oh, this is moving right along here. After breakfast, Buster and his mother jumped into their rattletrap car and started chugging down the road heading to town. all heads turned towards their noisy vehicle as they rattled and clanked along. After a stop at the shoe store, they headed home. "Stop! Stop, Mom!" Buster yelled. "Stop! Quit yelling and buckle up your seatbelt," Mommy Rabbit said quietly. "But look at that sign," said Buster, fumbling with his seatbelt. "Go-kart race," the sign said. "This coming Saturday at noon, a race will be held on the track by Boysenberry Hill. If you want to sign up for it, do so in this store. See you there." "Wow," said Buster. "Can I sign up for that?" "It's may I, Buster," Mother Rabbit said, "and you'll have to ask your father first." You see, even as a kid, I had picked up on that, knowing how moms and dads will play the kids off of each other when they don't know what to say to stall for time. But I digress. That night, Buster Rabbit strolled up to his father confidently and said, Dad?" Buster asked. "What do you want?" Daddy Rabbit roared. Uh, uh, well, uh, Buster stammered. "Come on, Buster," Daddy Rabbit said. "Spit it out." Oh, Daddy Rabbit exclaimed. "I bet I know what you want." "What?" Buster asked. "You want to race your go-kart in a race, don't you?" Daddy Rabbit asked. "What? How did you know?" Buster Rabbit yelled. "Oh, I saw the sign too," Daddy Rabbit laughed. "Well, can I?" Buster asked. "I guess you may, Buster," Daddy Rabbit said. "Wow!" Buster exclaimed. That night after supper, Uncle Henry arrived. Uncle Henry was a fat and chubby rabbit with a Mexican-style beard and mustache. "Hello, everyone!" Uncle Henry yelled. "What's this I hear about a go-kart race? Why, when I was a kid, I raced go-karts all the time." "You did?" asked Buster in awe. "Yep, I won them all too," he remarked. "Didn't you ever lose?" Buster asked. "Well, I lost a couple, but I don't talk about it that much. Let's go see your go-kart." Out in the shop, Uncle Henry surveyed the go-kart. He obviously didn't like it. They make go-karts somewhat different now than when I was a kid," he puffed. "Look at your go-kart. It's a wimp. I'll tell you what, every day after work, I will come here with some stuff to doctor up your go-kart. How's that sound?" "Sounds fine," admitted Buster. The next day, which was Sunday, Buster went to church with his family. When they got home, Buster decided to take his go-kart out on a little spin. The go-kart, as the speedometer said, actually went 10 miles an hour. After work the next day, Uncle Henry showed up. In the back of his pickup, he had a can of paint, a box marked Fragile, and several tools. The box marked Fragile contained a 25 horsepower engine, which Uncle Henry soon mounted on the go-kart. This is kind of steep. He then continued to splash the go-kart with a flashy blue color. The go-kart then seemed to have shown some improvement. The next day, Tuesday, Uncle Henry again showed up with some new wheels, new brakes, and a new steering wheel. Uncle Henry assembled these pieces together and then took Buster into town to sign up for the race. Wednesday, Uncle Henry showed up with a new sprocket and chain. The new sprocket was to double the speed of the go-kart. After fitting these on, Uncle Henry went home. As usual, he returned the next day with some oil, grease, and gasoline. Finally, he told Buster that the go-kart was ready to race, except for two things. He arrived the next day, Friday, and put on an electric starter and a mud visor on the go-kart. Oh, here comes a rock. We're going to back this one. We're going to back around. Tomorrow was the big day for Buster. Would he win or not? That night there was a ferocious ringing of the telephone. "I'll get him, Mom!" Buster hollered. "Hello? Hello!" "Oh, hi, Uncle Henry!" Buster exclaimed. "Why did you call?" I had to tell you that I won't be able to make it to the race tomorrow," Uncle Henry Rabbit said uneasily. "What?" yelled Buster. "Why not?" "I can't go because of my work. My boss said I didn't get my work done this last week," Uncle Henry said. "Why don't you tell your boss to do it himself?" Buster asked. "I won't tell him that because he's bigger than me, and if I do, I'll probably see my last paycheck in tomorrow morning's mail." "Well, bye, Buster," Uncle Henry said. "Bye," Buster said and hung up the phone. What rotten luck. I guess I'll just have to do my best tomorrow in the race. He then ran out to the shop where the go-kart sat and threw a tarp over it. He was on the blade of a knife that night when he tried to go to sleep. The next day was a dismal day with thunder and rain falling down from the sky. It seemed to mock Buster, who stood at the window growling. For sure the track would be muddy. Oh, it's so foggy in here right now. After breakfast, Daddy Rabbit said, "Let's load up your go-kart into the back of the pickup. Then we will go." As soon as a go-kart was loaded on the pickup, Buster and his dad jumped in and took off for the racetrack at Boysenberry Hill. I'm going to steer around this one a little bit. Oh, I don't like that. There we go. The air was strangely silent as they rode down the muddy road. Up ahead at Boysenberry Hill, the race officials were getting everything set up. The people then began to arrive. The races were to be lined up in a certain way. A certain official would come around and look at everyone's go-kart. Judging from the looks, he would put them in certain classes according to their speed. The slowest go-karts would go first, and the next fastest would go next, and the fastest would go last. I almost think we're done with this field, right, guys? Here comes the frog. Yep, we are done with this field. Just a few rocks left over. So maybe before I attempt to read any more, I'll get us situated into a new field. Turn off the GPS. Head across the way and head on down to, oh, what is it, number 19? Yep, a little teeny field down there, but we'll go run the roller over it just the same. I don't know what people think of the story so far. It seems rather fast-paced. I think now, writing this, it would have taken a whole lot longer with a whole lot more details, but I don't know, for a kid, it probably works. It's probably no more detail than what my dad, would have shared with us back when he told it to us. Oh boy, how am I going to read when I go down here? A moment later, Buster and his dad arrived and began to... Oh, hold on a second here. Oh. I forgot I have something in here to where it will dig new fields. Oh, that's what it was. It's B. Activate destroying of grass. Hold on. Do I have two in here? Activate creating a new fields. And... oh. Let me get out of here. I have something in here for... Alright, so it isn't going to create a new field. Alright, let me continue. I think I stopped mid-sentence. A moment later, Buster and his dad arrived and began to unload the go-kart. Good grief, Daddy Rabbit gulped. What do you have on this go-kart anyway? It's as heavy as my pickup. Oh, come on. Yeah, it's not like I can lift it up. Try to take care of it. Oh, that's why that pulls so hard. This thing is down on the ground. It must be the shape of the ground underneath. Probably rounds are always hard. Well, Buster, if you need me, I'll be up in the stands. Bye, Dad, Buster exclaimed as he took off the tarp covering the go-kart. Just then, up strolled an owl with a sign that said "Official" on it. May I take a look at your go-kart, sir, please? He asked pleasantly. Wowee, your go-kart is a beauty. I think that I'll put you in the fast section. Uh-oh, Buster mumbled. Up in the stands, the announcer was starting off the first race. Where is Buster? Daddy Rabbit pondered. His go-kart is slower than even the slowest bunch of go-karts here. I am almost kind of sorry I led him into this by giving him the okay to be in the race. I've watched his go-kart, and the fastest that it's ever gone was 10 miles an hour. But I sure wonder what heat he is going to be in. I know what. I'll go ask at the pit stop. Hey, Buster, Daddy Rabbit hollered when he reached the pit stop. When are you going to race? In the last one, Buster said. Daddy Rabbit went and sat in the grandstands, chewing on his paw nails, until he heard the announcer say, Well, folks, the hour of the day for which I know you have all been waiting is now here with 5 of the fastest go-karts. In the first lane we have Sammy the Sparrow. In lane 2, we have Ollie the Ox. In lane 3, we have Buster Rabbit. In lane 4, we have Kilroy the Kangaroo. And in the last lane, we have Fred the Fox. Racers, start your engines and do 2 warm-up laps around the track. All of the racers did so and started around the 5-mile track. Buster hardly touched the gas pedal and he felt like he was flying. He came to a stop after the second round and waited for the announcer to say go. When the order came, Buster floored the go-kart, and it killed. He started it up quickly and then managed to chug along to the first bend. About that time, he really began to pick up speed. He caught up with the other go-karts and yelled for them to get out of the way. As he spun through the mud going by them, he gave them a dirty shower of mud and rainwater. The more it rained, the harder it was to spin through the muddy track. Up ahead, he could see the pit stop. Turn it a little bit tight. If only he could get up there in good time to put some chains on his tires to give him more traction in the mud. It was much easier to go through the mud after the pit stop. He had lost some time in doing it, though. He managed to catch up with the other go-karts and again yelled at them to let him go by. And again he gave them another shower of mud when he passed by them. It sure was a good thing he had a mud visor. At last, the home stretch was in sight. Just a few more feet. Finally, the go-kart managed to spin its way through the finish line. The crowd simply went wild. The announcer tried to hush them. I think we're done with this field. Looks like we made some new field there. And we're going to head on down to, I think it would be the pasture one, right? I think that's where we go from here. I gotta see what kind of your time I'm wasting. 23 minutes in. So let me head down the road and try to keep from crashing. Here, I guess, Buster's won the race. And I would just comment kind of while I'm in route here. The story isn't exactly the way my father told it as I read it here now. Very little mention, really none at all, is made of Buster's family. It's presented, I guess, as if he's an only child or only bunny in this case. But when my father told it, he involved the rest of the family and had a lot of family type embellishments, if you will, that was based on all of his kids, different personalities and whatever, and so he'd bring things up in the story that meant something to us. But I see that I didn't write those things into the story, probably because they wouldn't mean anything to someone else. But the gist of it is there. I had forgotten even that Uncle Henry didn't come to the race because he had to go to work. He had spent too much time helping Buster on his go-kart. You can say what you want about Uncle Henry being a blowhard, but he had a good heart and had a heart for his nieces and nephews. Alright, coming up to this field here, let me turn off my indicators and beacon. I'll sneak on in. I'm going to give this field a roll. And hopefully, yeah. Get it spread out here. I'll figure out where I'm at. Oh yeah, the crowd went wild, right? They always go wild. I don't care who it is. I don't even know if the crowd cares who's coming in. They always go wild when it's a good race, right? "Good job, Buster," yelled the announcer. "You win first place. Come on up to the mic and say something to your fans." Oops, I missed a little bit. Don't read and drive. I think that's the lesson here. Just don't work. Buster trudged his muddy feet up the steps of the grandstand to the announcer's stand at the top. All right, what's going on here? Maybe I've never rolled this field before. I know it's horrendously bumpy out here, so let's see if I can still get coverage kind of here on the edge. Yeah, there's that other scripted work that I have going that even though the ground is uneven, I think I showed that at some point, it'll still take care of the cultivation and whatnot underneath, even though it's uneven. It's kind of a booger going around the outer edges there. This tractor's not wanting to move. Anyway, Buster's heading up. Just when he managed to get right by the announcer, he tripped on his muddy feet back down the stairs, while hurriedly grasping the cord to the mic and the announcer's tie. The whole microphone unit was ripped out of the announcer stand, along with the announcer, who bumped down the stairs after Buster, who firmly held on to his tie. The announcer was a chubby man, and his bouncing down the stairs caused the shaky announcer's stand to fall apart. It was a glorious noise as the announcer's stand soon crashed after Buster and the announcer. Buster had done the stadium janitor a favor. He had cleaned out the announcer's stand. Now, folks, this just isn't working with this here roll. It doesn't like this corner, I guess. There, we got some of it. I accidentally hit a... No, I didn't. It must just... Oh, it doesn't have collisions on that particular fence post. Oh, what a booger this is. But we'll keep after it. Buster went home feeling good inside because he had won for first place. The next day, the mailman came hauling a big bundle on his back. "It's bills," he announced. "There's a bunch of them." Come on, tractor. Get a hold of yourself. "What's this I hear?" Daddy Rabbit snorted. "What's the big idea? Bills at this time of year?" You can see as a kid I had no comprehension of bills, which I now realize come all the time. One of the bills said, "Dear satisfied customer, thank you for buying at our go-kart plant. The motor and other parts you bought came to a total of $4,938.19. As one of our preferred customers, we are giving you 20 days instead of 10 to pay this bill. Sincerely, Go-Karts Incorporated." "How much money did you win?" Daddy Rabbit asked Buster uneasily. $10, said Buster Rabbit meekly. $10, yelped Daddy Rabbit. "Only Henry Rabbit could have done a thing like this. Bring me the phone." "Hey, Henry, what's the big idea? Why did you charge us all that money? You are going to... ... dot, dot, dot. Well, folks, Daddy Rabbit continued his conversation with Uncle Henry for a whole hour. In the end, Uncle Henry bought a first-place go-kart for $4,938.19, and, word has it, that Uncle Henry has sold his car and now drives a go-kart to work. The end. Well, that's a story I wrote from what my dad told us as kids. There it is, such as it is. I'd be curious. I'd be curious what you thought of the story. For one, I realize it's kind of a kid story. Um, when I was a boy, I mean, this was very funny to me. At least the way my dad told it. As I read it now, I'm amused thinking back on that time. It it tickles my funny bone a little bit, mainly to see kind of how I wrote. I see all my misspellings, my poor punctuation, grammar issues in some places, improper use of parentheses and semicolons and all those kinds of things. Um, but anyway, what did you think? And did you grow up in a home, where you were told stories, or are you a storyteller yourself? And whatever you want to share in the comments, I'd be interested to read that, to know kind of some of your stories or things that interested you, or that touched your life as a kid or even as an adult. I mean, I've often said I'm a sucker for a good story, and I think in a previous video I shared, in the farming simulator world, some of the people who, have taken it upon themselves to tell stories, kind of incorporating it into the game, and it's pretty cool that they do that, and it's been part of the reason, obviously, that I listen to them and so enjoy them. So um, one of those being Atomic 67, of course. I mentioned Reefy 1952. So go check out their channels if you would, and hear some good storytelling. So I see I'm already at half an hour. I think the story kind of took that up, and there's not much to see in here with it being so dark anyhow. But thank you for all for taking time to listen. Hope you enjoyed the story, and hope you're doing well, whatever you're doing at the moment. So have a great night, morning, whatever, and I'll see you again next time. Bye bye for now.